Hello everyone, welcome back to Marvel Mania. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Sarah.
And Sarah has joined us once again. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
To watch and talk about Iron Man 2. Hey, Eric, look, it's real Rhodey.
It is real Rhodey.
Fake Rhodey was in the last movie, but real Rhodey showed up this time. It was real nice of him. So anyway, here is one of those movies that I gave a somewhat negative review to that I enjoyed watching. That I just don't think is that good of a movie.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
one
not
of
going to
those.
artistically defend it. It's an enjoyable watch.
That's the only thing I wanted to say before we got started. Anyway.
It's better than Spider-Man 3.
It's better than Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It's certainly better than Spider-Man 3. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. If you want to watch it with us, make sure to get out your DVD, your Blu-ray, however you want to watch it. Get it past all the menus and get it at timestamp 0. Get ready to press play when I say now. Here we go, folks. Any more preamble? You guys ready to go? All right, let's get started. Everybody, please press play right now. 3 now into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yep. It's so much funnier the second time.
I kind of forgot that this movie opened like this.
I did too. I remembered the like forging scene with Whiplash, which he's watching it, but I forgot that it opened with this.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool way to introduce your villain.
Yeah, no, it's a great introduction.
Especially because of his father's history with Vanko. You know, this is one of those rare times where somebody is watching the news and it's not just on in the background or random. He's probably been invested in what Tony Stark's been doing ever since he got back and he saw that suit.
Yeah.
Because he's blaming him or his father for ripping off the technology.
Well, that's the first press conference he makes after anybody knows about the suit, so he might be rewatching it. Like, he might keep watching it.
That's true, because they don't make it... It's pretty vague when we are here. He might have... Yeah, he might have, like, taped that, and he keeps going back and looking at it. So I said he's probably been following the news about Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because he would immediately recognize the repulsor technology.
That might be our excuse to fix the timeline. If we say this scene takes place like a year after the first movie.
Yeah.
Because we're going to jump 6 months from here.
Yeah.
So that might be our excuse. We'll see. We'll see if that holds.
Yeah, I don't...
Because this is the movie that breaks the Marvel timeline.
You're right, and that feels like a stretch.
Well, it's a decision that you make as a sequel, not as the universe. Like,
I just mean it feels like a stretch that he would be watching old news
No,
footage.
it does. I'm just trying to make it work.
Sure, yeah. And it's fun to try. But it would be a little convenient if his father was dying. Well, actually, I guess the way it probably is convenient. His father is dying just as Tony Stark is saying, I am Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Klingon.
No, he's just rewatching it on YouTube.
But he was on a TV and he was on his couch.
It was the news.
It was the news. He wasn't using a Roku stick.
Yeah, I forgot all this stuff with his dad. Like, this is where I remember the movie starting. It's been a little while since I've seen this.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have the comparison of how he leaves things with his father versus how Tony does. Mm-hmm. Especially going back to this with all the stuff we know now.
Yeah, because
once again, that's a lot of what makes it interesting to do this series and go back and look at all these movies in succession. Is we know a lot more about Tony and his father and that relationship up through Civil War now.
Yeah.
And of course, this is supposed to mirror the stuff in the cave.
This is his cave. You might say that we're telling the audience that he has an artificial heart because his heart doesn't keep him alive, and he's building it.
Always thinking that, Eric. He's got playing card suits for tattoos on his fingers.
Yeah. Which could be a Mickey Rourke thing, because I know he's also got tattoos.
Yeah, all over.
Or it could be a thing that he chose to do. I always think that's a weird choice when you're an actor. I would never get tattoos if I was an actor.
Yeah, because you'd have to hide them all the time. You'd probably have to paint over them a lot.
Yeah,
I remember him... There's his bird.
Yeah, there's his bird.
That's the only thing that's going to remotely make the bird thing make any kind of sense later.
What?
That's the thing that Sarah and I have always thought was weird.
It is weird. That's why I like it.
But it doesn't make any sense.
But it's nonsensical.
It makes some sense.
Okay, explain it to us.
We can figure it out later. Maybe watching it again will help. I'm not.
I tried that when I did
confident.
the rewind. It didn't.
He has a pet bird. He wants his pet bird. He gets him another bird that's just the same species. He knows it's not his bird.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know all of that, but it still seemed...
And Justin hammers you, the audience, where he's like, oh, now you like the bird. Oh, I see.
Yeah, but I want to know what the significance of the bird is to him. Like, why is it such a big deal to him that he has that? I want it to be more than just a silly quirk. You know what I mean?
And it's not. It's just a silly quirk.
Just a silly quirk.
It's not. And I
want it to inform him somehow.
If I remember correctly, it's not in the script. That's just the thing Mickey Rourke came up with. So there's the 6 months later.
Yeah.
That's what destroys the Marvel timeline. Because that means it takes place at most in 2009, which puts Thor and Incredible Hulk in 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a weird choice because usually when we have a sequel, it's either right after your first film or it's in real time. It's 2 or 3 years later.
I think I've seen a couple of films where we just jump a little bit ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. But rarely with superhero movies. There's almost always a lot of time in between.
It's either a direct sequel or... Well, Dark Knight's about 6 months.
Is it?
I think so. It's like 6 months to a year. It's not in real time.
And Rises is a lot more than we have ever had in anything else.
Yep.
So, with those movies, it's either very little or a whole lot.
Flushing, New York. I would... Before I changed Hell's Kitchen's name, I would have changed Flushing, New York.
I'm not sure why Flushing is called Flushing, but it's probably named after someone. We sold this movie on the expo real hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of the viral marketing was expo stuff.
And the expo's a thing that kind of through lines a little bit.
Yeah.
And I could see coming back and doing more stuff with.
We do in Agent Carter, I think. I'm trying to remember.
Because
I know
think
there's
the
another
first
place
one's
outside the
in
movies
First
that come
Avenger.
back.
I think there might be another one in Agent Carter.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I can't remember if Carter does anything with it or not. Yeah, I forgot that first one was in First Avenger. Because he has the hovering car that drops.
Yeah. And the original Human Torch. So he's not Spider-Man, right? Like he's not fighting street crime. He's not going out on patrol.
Mm-hmm.
What has he been doing in this 6 months? Like as Iron Man?
Well, as Tony Stark, he's been getting this expo ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would assume possibly helping out in military missions.
Maybe. I like the idea of Iron Man as the next like nuclear deterrent kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's explored enough in this film, but I like the idea.
I mean, that is what he says. I would assume he is, because I mean, he's been perfecting the technology and stuff. I would assume that he has been going out and doing things.
Yeah.
As Iron Man, but you're right. They do keep that pretty ambiguous.
Oh, did I miss it? Did I miss the line where they spell out the moral of the movie? It's about legacy?
He just said it.
Yeah. It's about legacy. In case you didn't know what this movie was about, it's about legacy.
I don't mind that.
I don't either, but...
It doesn't feel forced in the speech.
No, not at all. But I find it amusing.
Yeah, it is.
I like the idea of resurrecting something like this, especially because they go back to like the Disney kind of a thing. And do we even have World's Fairs anymore? Yeah, I didn't think so. This seems like a thing that we would do.
Yeah, and they play Stark Sr. almost like a Walt Disney kind of character.
He's definitely a Walt Disney. And it's, the music is Disney.
Yep. Which is really interesting because this is still pre the buyout.
Yep.
That happens a year after this.
And this always reminds me of that animated Batman episode.
Or, no, this is that... Is it that year? Don't we have a whole year without Marvel movies? Is
No,
this
it's last
2010?
year. This is 2009. Yeah, this is 2010.
That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So this is the year of the buyout, which means they did that not knowing it would happen.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So their very next movie, not distributed by Disney yet, that doesn't happen until Avengers, as we talked about, and people confirm that in the comments.
Yeah.
The very next movie,
There's Psylocke.
they have a Walt Disney figure, and then Disney buys out Marvel. That's really interesting. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying the City of the Future always reminds me of that animated Batman episode.
No, it's Phantasm.
Oh, that's
Massive
right.
Phantasm.
That's the
Yeah.
Phantasm where they're like, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Yeah, the future!
I forgot Olivia Munn was here in this opening scene.
And then
She probably thought that's the closest she was going to get to a superhero movie.
And this is where the Stanley cameo comes in.
Yep, and there's also Seth Green is in here too. He's like blinking you miss him, but he's here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I forget where he is, but I know I've seen him before.
Yeah, and that is definitely a case where someone mistakes him as another celebrity as opposed to his actually supposed to being that celebrity.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because he's got this look on his face like, hey, that's not who I am.
And she's Susan Storm.
Yep.
A lot of people who will later be superheroes.
But more importantly, one of the best characters in House of Cards.
That keeps too. We bring that back a couple of times.
Like he doesn't like to be handed things?
Yeah.
Yep. That's a motif through this, yep. Or a character thing.
Yeah. That felt like an arbitrary, like quirky choice that we would never see after this movie, but it comes back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always wanted to read that, and I'm not sure what it is beyond just, I'm a super important eccentric person.
Yeah,
and,
billionaire eccentricities.
Yep.
He's passed away now,
Yep.
unfortunately.
This is paid off so wonderfully in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it is. Winter Soldier makes this movie better. Iron Man 3 makes... Or not Iron Man 3. There's another one. There's a movie after this that makes this movie better as well.
But Winter Soldier especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene watches entirely differently when you know he's in Hydra.
Yeah.
That's so cool. He's telling, who we find out later, is one of Hydra's probably top operatives, I would assume, that he has privatized world peace.
Yeah. He wants to come back.
Yep.
He said he would come back for S.H.I.E.L.D. Why have you not done
not
that?
take advantage of that?
Yeah.
We had this conversation the other day.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is the movies I won't let them for some reason, but I don't think we'll ever see him again.
I don't know. I mean, he was in that All Hail the King short, which I told you about.
Where would we put him?
He could be any... I mean, Hammer Tech was all over Luke Cage. He could show up in Defenders.
Exactly. But if they were saving him, and that's why I don't think they're saving him. If they were saving him for the movie side of what's coming up,
Yeah, where would
you put him?
if you did
The next big thing is Infinity War. That's a cosmic thing.
if you did Masters of Evil with Zemo,
Yeah.
if he gathered the living villains, Hammer could give him the tech and stuff to like arm the villains.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
But that sounds like a cameo to me. I don't see him
Yeah, no, I don't think he's...
being a major character again.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you know that, but when Hammer is created in the comics, he is a answer to where do supervillains keep getting technology?
Yeah.
And it's he gives them the technology for a percentage of whatever they steal or whatever they do. That's why Justin Hammer's great. That's his role in the Marvel Universe, or it was when he was created. He's
it's cool
now.
then that we're faithful to that in that that's what he does for Whiplash.
Yeah. Of course, he was based on Peter Cushing, so a bit of an older guy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, physically, he's Peter Cushing.
He was great in Rogue One. I'm glad they got him back.
I don't know why they get him back for this. That's how it feels sometimes with YouTube comments. You don't understand taking a single sentence out of context does not reflect the entirety of the video.
I do. Just type it anyway.
And I think that might be a reference because he's Secretary of Defense in the comics for a little bit.
Okay. What's really awkward about the scene, of course, is that Senate hearings are like this.
Yeah. Although I think it crosses the line. I've always been bugged by how the scene ends. I don't think it's believable that it's well.
Yeah. But the way he keeps, blocking people and deflecting things.
Yeah,
that's how a Senate hearing tends to go.
Yeah, no, it's what he says at the end. I don't think it should be in this movie.
I'm with you.
Especially because Marvel movies tend to be kid-friendly, and it's not non-kid-friendly, but I don't think it needed to be in this film.
Maybe he goes a little bit too far.
And this is a through. This is the first time we see that just like glass phone.
Mm-hmm.
He's always got that. That keeps.
Oh yeah, he's got that in Avengers.
He's got that in Civil War.
That's probably technology we have, and it's maybe just impractical to look through something. Because I think it looks cool and sleek, but
yeah,
wouldn't you want something behind it?
Yeah.
Like, would you really want that to be transparent all the time?
You want everybody to be able to see what you're looking at?
Yeah, that too. One, it would be weird to watch Netflix on it. Like, maybe there's a button you can push and a back comes behind it, or, there's a background, a solid color, but yeah, it wouldn't be ideal for everything. It just looks cool. It looks all futuristic.
There was a lot of people trying to connect the spinal. In Doctor Strange, he's on the phone, and they talk about someone that had like a spinal injury or something like that, and they're trying to connect it to that. As a maybe Doctor Strange does take place in the past because they mentioned this thing, and maybe that's this.
Yeah, and I forgot about that. There's no good sense as to when exactly that movie happens.
Yeah, they said I think the director said it starts like 6 months or a year before it ends, because he's obviously at the monastery for a while.
Yeah, because
there it is. I don't need that.
Because there's also, but I do buy that's that guy getting pushed too far, and that he might lose it in that way. Not in like an enraged scream at someone kind of way, but he can't help but say that. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it in a Marvel movie. I mean, I'm the guy that was laughing through Punisher Warzone, but I don't like that in a Marvel movie.
That's fair. At least it hasn't turned into X-Men where we use our one F-bomb every movie.
That's true. That's true. And I don't think they'll ever do that.
And that has seemed somewhat unnecessary to me.
It's just like a thing now. The X-Men movies do that.
Yeah, and I don't really understand why, because they're not super adult movies.
Yeah.
It's always the TV.
Always, yeah. We should, yeah. I was gonna say we should be counting those, but there's not as many as there are in DC movies, I don't think. I really want Logan to have at least 2, just because it's R and... That's a funny line.
I could just listen to punk rock again. I don't particularly care for this song, but I like that it's still that same kind of music he was listening to in the first one.
Yeah, I think it's that's what he listens to personally, and then the... you know what? I'm going to disagree with something you said before about... why can't I think of AC/DC? I don't think it's that suddenly that's his taste because that was really popular and associated with the movie. I think it's because he outed himself as Iron Man, and so that's become his theme music. You know, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, but Black Sabbath is Iron Man. You'd think he'd go with that.
Well, that's true.
And obviously, this is
of
a
course.
completely different design than what we see in the first film. There's like cords and stuff that connect it to his chest.
Yeah, but it's more in that vein, so it's
That
kind of music.
Yeah.
But you're right. You'd think maybe he would be using "I Am Iron Man" somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe it's too on the nose for him. And this is an interesting thing that in the first one, if you pay attention, he is drinking this weird drink. And then here we're establishing that that's like to get rid of his palladium. And I don't know what that choice was in the first movie because there's no way they were thinking this far ahead. But
now they went back and looked at it and they went, what is that?
Yeah.
Well,
okay, well, this is
we'll
what
say
it
he
is.
has to drink that.
Yeah. I forgot she's not running Stark Industries at the beginning of this movie. That happens during this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to her doing that.
I really like that because that was probably an ad lib. I really like that line. Because yeah, it's funny the surgical mask thing, but also he's sick and she doesn't know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I really like that. Not that would necessarily exacerbate it, and that might not even be why he said it.
Mm-hmm. But theoretically, his immune system is low,
and he's thinking about it, and that's probably why he thought of that joke.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So this poster is why Obama has to be in office.
Well, that and the song in Luke Cage.
But it's why he has to be in office right now, and then when or has at least run. And Luke Cage makes it so that he has to have been in at least one term.
Yeah.
But what you may or may not know because you haven't seen it yet is that in Iron Man 3 we have a different president.
So that means that in the Marvel Universe, Obama has to be a one-term.
It has to be a one-term president. There's no way around it.
Wow. I'm gonna eventually have to see Iron Man 3.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier today. Hopefully you can watch it with us when we do it for this.
Yeah.
While we talk over it and make it really difficult for you to concentrate. It'll be fun.
And that's kind of a dense plot.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Eric and I have already done a commentary on that. We've also already done a commentary on this.
Well, and we did a commentary on that not even a year ago.
On Iron Man 3, yeah. I don't know how long we did this.
It's in the lead up to Iron Man 3 coming out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not as long ago as I would have expected.
I mean, 2012, that's still...
Yeah, but I thought it might have even been earlier than that. But
4 years ago?
Yeah. You still can't say that the art collection is yours. But you have my company. But you can run my company. Eric, what's your social security number?
5. This scene is shortened. That guy opens up his shirt and you see he's got a 10 ring symbol. The 10 rings are funding Whiplash to go do this, but that's cut from the movie and therefore it doesn't count. But I think,
and that's maybe for the best because it's
not
just like a thing we're building
off.
and we never do anything with it.
Yep. But it could retroactively be brought back, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, like the scene in Hulk. I feel like we could retroactively, if we ever really did the Mandarin with the 10 rings, we could bring all of that back.
Yeah, I think it is kind of unfortunate that that's not a thing that holds all this together.
Yeah. It makes it feel less like a trilogy.
Yeah. And it's just neat to have something like that in the background.
Yeah.
That's linking everything up together.
And this is the Ramones, I believe. So we're still in that punk rock listening
That's
kind of thing.
what he listens to.
Yeah.
So, she, of course, I mean, it's been 8 years. She, of course, still looks great and is aging really well.
Oh, yeah.
But even she looks a lot younger here than me.
Yeah, in the face, definitely.
Yeah.
She also gets better at this role. Not that she's
Definitely.
bad here, but she really grows into this.
Yeah. And it's so, like, she has a really nice excuse because that's a character that does a lot of pretending and wears metaphorical masks all the time. So anytime you don't like her much of the time, if you don't like her performance, it can be Romanoff just putting on an act.
I do wish she would ever have a Russian accent.
Ever.
Because there's a point in this movie I've always complained about that this is when she should be using a Russian accent.
Yeah.
But even moving forward, she never does, and she should.
But isn't it schooled out of her?
I guess it could be.
I feel like that's always been the excuse, but I don't think they ever come out and say it.
Okay.
And this is weird because she's a spy, and we know the kind of life she leads, and we find out that she's done like pinup modeling stuff. I don't think you would want that all around if you're a spy.
Well, they probably had her do that on purpose to plant things. Like
Right.
this is all planned.
Right, but if she goes and does another thing where she's pretending to be somebody else, somebody can be like, "Well, I've seen your picture. I've seen
the
the
security's not so good that only they have access to that.
Oh, I guess that could be true.
So they're tapping into something that Shield has set up for them specifically to give her a cover.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But that could make sense.
I mean, certainly they have access to that now, so they could copy it and put it out if they wanted to for some reason. And then if anybody ever found out that's who that was, then they could link it up. So there's that. There's a risk you're taking there, certainly. But I don't know how you'd be any more likely to figure out her identity with nude or partially nude pictures.
Well, no, I just mean, like, if she goes undercover to, like, a criminal organization, like, somebody's like, I'm pretty sure I've seen you before.
Yeah, but it's not everywhere. She's not in, like, thousands or millions of magazines.
I assumed it was a magazine shoot.
Well, it probably was, but again, it's a Shield plan.
Yeah.
Just for their eyes.
Yeah.
She probably shot those pictures a week ago for that.
That's probably true.
And I don't
Paris.
think that's just an assumption. I think that's got to be what it is, because
at least retroactively.
Yeah, I mean, unless she's been using this alias for other things and not just for this job.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume this is just an alias she made up for this job. That's a great line. See, I don't think this is her. I mean, okay, it probably is, but I don't think this watches necessarily after you've seen the rest of this, like Scarlett Johansson's still figuring this role out. It watches like she's doing an act.
No, but I think it does when we get to the real her. I think it still
The real
feels,
her, yeah. Because I like this voice she's putting on. Like, I don't mean it's a different accent, but she's talking in a slightly higher pitch.
They're married.
Oh, that's cool.
I like how dorky he is in this, because he can be cool and smooth, and he was almost Iron Man. He's just not cool. And he's trying to be cool, and he's doing a great job at playing that.
Yeah, and the other role I've seen from him that he seems to be drawing from the most, or at least the place where he went to with both of these roles, is Zaphod Beeblebrox. Because that is another really not cool guy. He's, of course, also super bizarre and out there, and has another head underneath his head, which I always hated.
That he cuts out and leaves with the scary guy.
Just so they don't have to do that effect again.
Yeah.
Gets even worse because they get rid of the head.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird choice. Yeah, it's going up fast.
Yeah,
He's gonna
especially
have
since
to
it's
get
been
this figured
6
out.
months.
Yeah, that's
Unless it's going faster as it gets worse.
maybe that's what's going on.
Maybe it took like 6 months to get to like 30%, and then
Yeah, and it's got to be moving at a clip where it's not as much of a ticking time bomb. You know, if he's got 3 years,
mm-hmm.
then he could have another movie before it becomes, you know, really a major problem. But he's already got, and then he's got like the visual representation of the ticking time bomb with the marks all over him that he's trying to conceal so people don't know that he's ill.
There's a line,
which is a good choice.
There's a line that we're talking about when they're taking pictures that Connor's brought up a couple of times, which is after they take a picture, Tony says fromage, and I was watching to see what that word is because Connor's like, I don't like. It's just him saying nonsense. It's spelled and in italics. It's got to be a French word. Mm-hmm. It's got to be an actual word. It's not just him saying something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I noticed that. I really want him to come back.
Yeah, me too.
He would have been great for Civil War. To have a scene. Again, like, I don't see him coming back as a villain, but I could see him being almost like a villainous Coulson, like he pops in movies sometimes.
Yeah, could we darken him up?
And arm people. Yeah, I think you could.
I think you could too.
I think you could easily say his time in prison makes him a little bit harder or something like that.
Yeah, he starts as a joke and like he hates how people look at him so much that he like he already is the anti-Tony Stark,
mm-hmm.
but he becomes more that way in like a like a really serious and more threatening kind of way.
I actually think you could have maybe used him in Iron Man 3 as the Guy Pearce role, where like he talks about like I learned anonymity, like he could have come from here, and he could have just played a darker version of this character. But I'd like to see him come back. I like just arming villains. Like I think you could have 1 or 2 scenes where he just comes in and like is like, all right, this is what you need, and maybe build up. And if you ever did an Iron Man 4, you could actually like build to him. And he's immediately hit by a car and the movie's over.
There's a lot of places where you could just end this movie, especially because it kind of is over after this scene, and then it just keeps going.
I've always loved this costume. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, this is another shirtless villain.
Yep.
We gotta make sure and write that down.
We gotta make sure to write that down.
I think all the Iron Mans have one. No, the first one doesn't.
Yeah,
the
no.
3 does.
Yep.
This was the other scene that this movie was sold on really hard.
And it's the best scene in the movie.
I don't think anybody could have guessed that this was in the first act.
I don't think so either.
Because it's ultimately cooler than your actual climactic action scene. We talked about this before, but it's just that's one of the really unfortunate things about this movie is that the best action scene is 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And sure, it gets bigger and the stakes are technically bigger at the end. At least the scale is bigger. But it's not as interesting, as much fun to watch.
Yeah, well,
this is a real unusual setting. Like at the end, it's a real paint by numbers kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to where it begins, and I get why it's there, but
yeah, sure.
And this also feels really Bondian. Going to another country, doing like kind of an exotic locale, and a big event. Why did they explode? I know it's cool, but
yeah, nothing made that happen. Oh, that's a really good point. What? Nothing made that happen.
No, it's just one guy turns, then they all explode. It's great.
In slow motion. What was it? Just the way his electro tentacles were touching them?
No. I think the cars just hit each other and just explode.
I think it was just a car crash. I don't think they hit the electrical
because
stuff
because it was in slow motion, it looked like they were lying there already and then exploded.
No. They hit each other. But if that happens, you would not be allowed to race these cars.
Yeah.
Because accidents do happen, and if it ends in explosion,
Yeah, cars hit each other in walls constantly. Usually once or twice a race that happens, right?
You shouldn't make
Is
your
it that
cars out
often?
of explodium.
No,
It's just a mistake.
no, you don't want you don't want it like consoles in Star Trek. You don't want plasma conduits in your Formula One racing cars. Yeah, I think one of the reasons this is such a memorable scene, and if I did, like, I keep talking about possible top 10 lists, if I did a top 10, superhero fight sequences or action sequences, this could very well be on it.
Well, it's because he's so desperate. He's
And it
down.
doesn't feel like a superhero fight.
Yeah.
It's not shot like a superhero fight anyway. And I mean, of course, he's going to armor up, and we're going to get to kind of costumed characters fighting, but it feels more like a real fight if you have this technology in the middle of it, you know? It's not ultra choreographed. It's not he throws a punch, then he throws a punch.
It's more science fiction.
Yeah, and his... But also just like action movie, like you were saying, like you were saying a minute ago. I mean, I like that his supporting cast gets involved. And this is a thing that we keep doing constantly, and maybe it's because this scene is so good after this, where Tony Stark winds up in fights out of costume a lot.
Yeah.
And some of that is because once he's in costume, it's much harder to beat him, of course. And so the stakes are higher for him when he's out of costume, and he has to use his ingenuity before he can get his costume to him.
Well, and I mean, this is the entire middle act of Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I love that the suspense for the scene up to that point is throw me a suitcase.
So we...
And that's my favorite armor. Love the suitcase armor.
And we're gonna track the, like, technological evolution of the armor throughout these films. And, like, this is a step up from the previous film, and then when we get to Avengers, it'll be this kind of armor, but it launches at him. But I also think this armor is supposed to be stripped down. I don't think he can fly. I don't think he's got all his little doodads. Like, there's a limitation to this technology that he overcomes in Avengers, and then upgrades even more in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
And then we kind of plateau, and we just do, like, cool stuff after that.
When you said it was a step up, I was going to fight you on that, because the suit he wears after this is a step up.
But technologically, it's...
But this is his... backup, I need a suit in the moment suit.
Yeah.
And it would make a lot of sense if he could figure out how to put it in a suitcase or something else, that he would carry that with him because everybody knows he's Iron Man. So he doesn't have to run off and fight a phone booth or something.
Yeah. Then Iron Man 3 will get to the point where it can just fly to him. And then we kind of stop doing that.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure why they stopped doing that. Like I always assumed it's probably just something to do with his not wanting to always be connected to it.
Or it's
mentally
too easy, like narratively maybe.
Well, that's probably the real reason, but at least story-wise, I wonder if it's not because there's kind of this addiction idea in Iron Man 3 where he just can't stop being Iron Man.
Yeah, so maybe because he puts stuff in him, maybe he takes that stuff out of him.
Yeah, and that he wants to only use it when it's necessary.
Yeah,
and
because he's supposed to be trying to quit after Iron Man 3.
Exactly. Yeah,
and he keeps relapsing.
But a lot of the relapse is responsibility.
Yeah. Well, and that's the conversation in Civil War where he's like in an Ultron.
And he also says he doesn't want to quit.
Yeah,
I want to say that's in Civil War, right?
Yeah.
I'm still doing it because I don't want to quit.
Yeah.
In Iron Man 3, Sarah, he has a mind link with his armor.
And he can fly to him from anywhere.
He can think it to... Is it just he thinks it to him?
Yeah, I think so. It's not like he presses any buttons or anything, he's just...
And then he does this and then they come to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they add some tattoos, but some of those are his real tattoos.
And there's one that they cover up because it says Loki.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't want people to think that was a...
foreshadowing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him around when this came out and he was talking about the tattoos, and I think a lot of the new ones were like his idea, and he had a lot of say in what his character was and did, and so, as Eric was saying, we have him to blame for some of the stuff you don't like.
Yeah, he does this thing where he like develops the character, and he talks about how he does that in all movies. It's like Nick Cage. Nick Cage does that too, where he brings quirks to the character.
So this is a wonderful exchange and one of the best scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then for me, at least with Whiplash, it all goes downhill from here. Because he's started the ball rolling for what he wanted to do in the first place, and I do not know what he's doing the rest of this movie.
I think there should have been more villains in this movie. Like, his whole thing is like Bloods and the Water Sharks will come. I want some low rent, or maybe even mid rent, high rent villains to come out that are also technologically based. That's like, well, I can take them down. Like, that's where you do, because Iron Man's Rogues Gallery is a lot of those guys. That's where you do the Melter and you do Blizzard, and I think the second act of this movie should be him constantly under attack.
I don't know about that, because that's not what the movie's about. Like, Blood in the Water is the people you're trying to protect don't trust you anymore. That's who's coming after you.
Yeah, but I like the idea
turning against
that
you.
like you make them bleed, and everyone's gonna think you can take a shot at them.
Well, that's true, but what would the other villains be after? The thing is, he hasn't been a superhero long enough for that.
That's true.
That would be really cool if we established he's been putting guys away.
Mm.
But I don't think it works unless you establish that.
Well, it could be just people trying to make a name for each other or something like that, or make for themselves or something like that.
I just think that would get convoluted and goes against what the movie's about.
It could. But it needs something else, like Whiplash kind of needs to end there.
Yeah, exactly.
Or end there and then come back at the end or something like that.
No, I think the rest of this should have been him versus Hammer.
Mm.
And you could have maybe come up with a...
And you could still end this movie with him fighting a dude that's in a suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you put Hammer in one, or somehow.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe you could have done that.
Or you just have somebody else that you just have a heavy that he throws in armor or something like that.
Yeah, because if Tony hadn't exposed Hammer as much of a hack as he did, although I don't know how much that's really hurting him right now, this would, of course, be the time for him to swoop in and take all of his business and his accounts and
Well,
he's that's what he tries to do.
That?
Yeah,
because he's not a weapons company anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, okay.
And this is also a through line.
But if you rewrote it, you could build that rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you could try to make some interesting parallels with him and Ironmonger.
In the Fraction arc, Stark Resilient, he kind of takes... Because Fraction is an advisor on this film. And you can kind of tell that in Stark Resilient, there's a lot of... I think I know the ideas Fraction suggests, because I think he ends up using them. And in the Iron Man comics, like, Tony quits making weapons a number of times. We never did the story where he goes back to making weapons, but everyone thinks they're the first person to make them stop. And And
so he never goes back to making weapons. He just stops making weapons a lot.
Yeah, and so when the Hammer twins show up, who's Justine Hammer, who's Justin Hammer's daughter, and then
Justine Hammer.
Yeah, and then Sasha Hammer, who's her daughter. They show up, and their whole plan is just to make it so that he can never come back to making weapons. So like, no, we've seen you do this thing before. We're not trying to compete with you. We're trying to make it so you can't come back.
And now explosive potatoes.
They don't even look like real potatoes.
No, they don't. But it's okay, because it looks like the guard who brings it to him is in on it.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I always thought. And all you'd have to do is turn the potatoes over.
Yeah, no, the guard's definitely on because they bring this other guy. Who may be Sabretooth. We don't know.
Whoever he is, he's clearly been on the island from Lost far too long.
They don't look anything alike.
Yeah, but if the body's charred, I think he just needs to be like around the same size.
So I really want him to have a name tag that says Roger Workman.
Well, only
that's
the door
not his
open.
last name. That's Workman. Do you remember that whole thing in Lost? Yeah. So because I wouldn't have made that reference. It was just me and Eric talking.
Yeah, I forgot you hadn't gotten all the way through Lost.
Nope, a half season. In, not half a season left.
That is the best stuff.
Yeah.
He's way bigger than them. He could fight them if he wanted to.
Yeah, even with a hood on his head. So yeah, the first act of this movie is the first act of a way better movie.
Absolutely.
And the rest of this remains real watchable.
It's really fun. Well, and it's
just what made that first movie so good kind of becomes a detriment. It feels like to this film. I'm talking about the improvisation.
Well, and something clearly happens behind the scenes because Favreau quits. Chef is clearly a cathartic film about making this movie.
It doesn't mean he quits in the middle of making the film. He
doesn't come back.
He doesn't come back.
And he seems to talk about where like he didn't have a great experience and that they changed things. And
yeah, he was complaining about it while he was making it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I remember it like a couple of tweets or something where he says something while it's being made about how he's kind of frustrated that he's like he wants to say he wants to. I can't remember if he wants to say something publicly or there's things he's trying to do that Marvel's not letting him. I mean, he was real kind about it, but you could kind of read between the lines.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to know how much of this is changed. There's a completely different ending that I like better because it's smaller.
I remember liking that too. I don't remember everything about it.
It's basically
I talked about it in the rewind.
It's basically Whiplash doesn't have a mech. He just goes for Pepper. And it's just him with a whip. And it's just a smaller...
Yeah, doesn't he basically hold her at gunpoint?
But with his whip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a smaller scene, and I think it works a little bit better than now I have a big mech suit.
But see, this is what's so weird is that he's already not just going after him. He doesn't have any plans to just go kill him, unless he wanted to just like make his life horrible and then go kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But Hammer is making assumptions about his motivations and his plans, and the movie never confirms or denies them. It doesn't tell us what he wants. Really.
Well, I think it's possible that he would kill Stark, but he doesn't believe he has the resources. And now he has the resources.
But you'd think he'd want to do it a lot later. You think he'd want to sit around and watch what he just set up.
Well, there is a little bit of a ticking time bomb with Hammer, because Hammer's only going to work with him for so long, because he gets irritated with him as the film goes on.
Okay. So
because he's not doing what Hammer
so he's got
wants.
a limited time that he's
he's able to have these resources.
Yeah. This is the risk you take in having such an intentionally little-spoken villain.
Mm-hmm.
And that does become a big problem for me, is that because he's not communicating to anyone, and of course it makes sense, he's trying to play Justin Hammer, he's trying to use him for his own intentions, but that makes it difficult for the movie to communicate what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond revenge, I don't know what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the blood in the water thing is just way more interesting than what he ends up doing.
Yeah, and I'm really glad we're watching this with subtitles because I'm hoping that it'll help me be less confused by the whole villain plot. Because
he doesn't say much, so I don't think it will. But
the plot itself makes sense. It's the reasons for the plot. It's just kill Tony Stark, basically.
Yeah, but why?
Yeah, and I don't know why he didn't do it in the first place. That's
I don't think he could. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, in the first place,
I always read that as he was not trying to kill Tony Stark in that first scene.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't seem to. He's got a whole speech rehearsed.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, what?
Yeah, well, it was hard to tell if it was just drawn out and he was actually trying, or
and it doesn't help
just toying with him.
And it doesn't help that here we get his entire backstory in about 2 minutes of exposition from newspaper clippings, and that's all we kind of know about him. Now, there is a character in John Byrne's run on Iron Man named Kirsten DeWitt who is basically this character, and I don't know why they didn't use him.
Weird.
But he's gotten for Tony Stark because of something with his father, and the big thing at the end of that story is Tony has no idea who this person is or what his father did to that guy's father. And it is an intentional anticlimax of just like Tony Stark getting to this guy and where it's built up, and then he's like, I don't know who you are or what I did to you. And that's kind of the point. I don't know if that would have worked in a film, but I think there's definitely some pull from Armor Wars 2, which is that burn story with Kirsten.
See, I think it might be a misstep to have Hammer say, well, don't just go after him, go after his legacy.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I feel like that's already the plan.
Yeah, it's already what he's doing.
Already what he's doing.
Yeah.
And that confuses it because watching that scene, I'm not sure if the movie is trying to say Whiplash is 5 steps ahead of him.
Yeah, it might be that
him going, Hammer, you're right, but I'm going to do it my way. I don't know what the movie thinks
it might be more of like Hammer's an idiot. We're like,
yeah.
Well, clearly that is what I'm doing. Yeah, you're so smart.
Yeah, and of course he's looking at him condescendingly through that scene and then through the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you idiot, I've already got all this figured out, but thanks for the guns and the drones that you wanted to be suits, but I made them drones.
Now, one of the problems with all of this might be the writer on this film is a guy named Justin Theroux, who wrote Tropic Thunder with Ben Stiller, and Downey brings him on.
Oh.
I don't think Justin Theroux has any dramatic credits. He's a comedy.
So that could have been a mistake.
I think that might be part of why this film doesn't exactly gel.
Because what works most about this movie is the comedy, but also the dramatic setup is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony thinking he's about to die and not being able to do anything about it makes this is a really good time to deal with this legacy idea, because of course he's afraid he's not still going to be here next year, and it's both his and his father's legacy on the line.
Mm-hmm. These armors that Hammer has here, they look a lot like Riri's armor, right? Or Riri's armor looks a lot like them.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Because I was
It's
just looking
big,
at
bulky, gray, generic armor, right?
I feel like it's got a similar head. I don't know. I looked at them, I'm like, those look familiar to something I've seen recently, and I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Riri's armor.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, just go find that guy from Quest in the first Spider-Man movie. He'll probably wear one of those things and fly around.
There's an implication I like here that I think they're playing of just like theoretically how unsafe you are. Like, you can be the richest, most powerful man in the world, but if you walk into a gas station like a crazy person walks in, you're not safe.
Yeah.
And like there's a real like unsettling like he's alone in this room with this guy and he could kill him at any moment.
Oh yeah.
There's
and he'd love to, and he's barely even pretending that he wouldn't.
There's some kind of cut scene here. I remember from the trailer there's definitely some kind of sequence where she puts on an Iron Man glove and shoots. But I have no idea what it would be in the film. Like, it feels like it would have been weird.
Where Black Widow does that?
Yeah,
Oh, strange.
And I want to say it was...
I wish that was still there somehow. That's cool.
Yeah. But maybe it gets cut because then it seems like she's going along with his stuff a little bit too much. I don't know. I don't know what the context of the scene was, but I'm pretty sure it's around here and at this party.
But it would have been cool if somehow that was the reveal that she's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. That, like, they've done a lot of reconnaissance and they know how the tech works. You know, something like that. It's really interesting that this is her introduction, because nobody watching this who didn't know comics and weren't paying attention to where things were going production-wise wouldn't know who this character is, because she's not a popular character for the for mass audiences.
Yeah, and if you're just going,
and even some Marvel fans probably don't know that much about Black Widow. Well, she doesn't pop up in a lot of the main singular titles people read.
Yeah, well, she just kind of pops up here and there. She hangs out with Daredevil for a while. There was almost a
I like that stuff.
There was almost a Daredevil Black Widow TV show starring David Bowie's wife.
Isn't that crazy?
There are pictures of it.
I didn't know it was ever in production.
I think they just shot, like, they made costumes, like, this is kind of what it would look like. I don't think it was ever got off the ground in any way. But yeah, no, coming to this movie, you'd probably just think, oh, well, they got an attractive actress to be the third part of a triangle. You know, she's just tension for their relationship.
See, one of the things I really like about Whiplash's initial plan is that he is capitalizing on a real problem Tony Stark has, where like he doesn't have a point in that Tony or his father actually necessarily stole anything, or I guess we don't really know what exactly happened with all of that, but like this is still consequences to Tony's actions. Like, if only he wasn't letting his illness get to him, and he didn't have this attitude of, it doesn't matter what I do, I can do whatever I want to, he wouldn't have as much to take advantage of. Mm-hmm. And so he's able to convince a lot of people that Tony really shouldn't be the nuclear deterrent. Because he's kind of a walking time bomb right now. And he's a huge liability.
I don't know if it's the rest of the film around this scene, or if it's this, or I've always felt like this is a much darker scene than they think it is.
Yeah, me too.
I think this is a really, really dark scene, and I don't know if they realize how dark, at least I view it.
Yeah, it's super sad, and the implications, and that's the point I was making a second ago, is that there are really scary implications to what he's doing here. Like, he could easily take out anybody.
It's a good thing he didn't break that really expensive statue.
And he's setting himself up at the beginning as the singular way America gets world peace.
Yeah. No, he just doesn't care because he's dying.
The best thing this movie gives us moving forward is the line, privatize world peace.
Mm-hmm. Because that's going to be his mission
statement. Being a really important thing.
This may be the most flagrant, like...
Yeah, that's his mission statement at the beginning, and then, of course, he eventually, after Ultron, goes to the complete opposite side in Civil War.
This scene may be the most flagrant, like, use of glass doesn't cut anyone ever in movies.
Yes.
I was just thinking about that.
That's a great point.
He dies shortly after this movie, too.
Oh, really?
And I want to say it's a tragic death. This is one of the last things he did. He's a famous DJ.
So somehow or other, Jason hasn't seen all the Iron Man movies yet, and we were talking about this movie today. He was like, "Oh, I haven't seen that yet, Dad," and he will lose it when he gets to the scene because he loves Queen.
I remember seeing this shot in the trailer and being really excited that we were going to see Iron Man inside a building.
Yeah.
And then it's this. It's weird that your second act action scene is this. And I feel like this scene shouldn't be as jokey as it is, for the darker implications of the scene before it and thematically with the movie.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it was intended.
It is kind of totally uneven. And maybe they watered it down because they were trying to make sure that it was still family friendly enough, and that it was still an entertaining enough movie. I mean, think about how risky this is. You start with Iron Man, you do Incredible Hulk, which is not the most accessible for everybody kind of movie necessarily, and it's not a fun joke a minute kind of movie. And then you get to this, which is about self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a movie that is not a superhero movie first necessarily, but it's kind of by the end trying too hard.
Yeah, and it falls into that same problem of the first movie of being a superhero movie in the third act, because all of this is not a superhero movie. This is not how you structure these. This is not how you do this.
Yeah.
It is different. It is doing its own thing, and it's not a paint-by-numbers sequel either.
Right.
It really is trying to tell a new and different story that's furthering this character.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of paralleled scenes where it's going back and redoing a scene it did in the first movie.
Yeah.
I don't know that there are any of them.
I don't think so. I mean...
Besides the Vanko in the cave at the beginning, but that's intentional, that's not...
Yeah, that's more thematic than anything. I mean, there's a couple...
It just reminds you of the look of that.
There's a couple gags, but not anything big. I don't like this and how it pays off. It's dumb. Two lasers hitting each other would explode like that. It doesn't make... It's dumb. And he also says...
We do that a lot, but you don't think that would create a shockwave?
Not like that. Well, especially because that's setting up how the movie ends.
Okay, I don't know how that tech works exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what a repulsor blast is versus because they're not lasers.
No, it's like Cyclops' optic blast, like it's force-based.
Yeah. So I don't. Maybe that would create a shockwave. I don't know.
Maybe. We just had him call. So he said, "You want to be the War Machine?" Because we're still doing that thing.
Yep.
We'll own up to that later. We'll just call people names, not villains. Villains never get names, but superheroes will get names.
I mean, we call each other names all the time.
Yeah.
But
there's an interesting thing in Fraction's run about using repulsors for rockets and how much easier rocket ships would be with repulsors as opposed to rockets.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where, like, well, you can never do that in the Marvel Universe because then it's going to take it too far away from the world we live in.
You know, Civil War makes all this stuff with him and Rhodey better, too.
Yeah. I kind of wish...
a lot of really good reasons to be for oversight later because of mistakes he's made.
Yeah. I kind of wish that we didn't have the breakup in this movie because I don't feel like you get a really good sense of their friendship in the first one, and then
no, definitely not.
And then we switched actors too, so I kind of wish we waited till like a third movie to do something like that.
Because I remember being really confused the first time I watched this. I wasn't even sure it was supposed to be the same guy until halfway through the movie.
And I like Don Cheadle better. I think he is the better Rogan.
You guys hear the score? It's very nearly the theme from Independence Day. Da, 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 da. And when I was a kid, Independence Day came out, and I got to go back and figure out what movie it was because I swear to God, there's another movie that uses that exact same theme. I still haven't found it, but I'm just sure. If this wasn't, it should have been a movie poster.
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
Well, and it's another case
Tony
of...
and a donut is just great.
Of something being...
And that's a wonderful image. What a great way to introduce him proper, like proper into these.
I feel like the implications of that scene are, again, darker than... Like, it's a joke, and it is a joke, but... I don't know.
The implications of what now?
Just kind of like
which scene?
kind of him in the donut.
In the donut. I was just about to talk about that.
In Iron Man armor, eating a donut, like, it's real depression kind of stuff.
It is. He just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, and it's played as a joke, and I feel like it could be played a little bit darker with comedic. And I mean, I guess that makes it fit.
It's the music that hurts it.
Yeah. If it was sad music,
that is not a or nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing would be better. That's not a place for Bum Chicka Bom Bom. Like,
this is where she should have a Russian accent. Where he realizes, oh, you're not the person I thought you were at all. But I mean, I guess that makes it link up with Iron Man 3 a little bit better, because that is kind of where we will take him, and we will take it a little bit more seriously.
But if you're able to not have an accent, wouldn't you just never have an accent?
I don't know. I don't have an accent. I've never had an accent.
Why do you say that?
Well, I'm just saying that if you knew how to speak another foreign language fluently, why would you affect an American accent in that foreign language?
That's a really good point. Yeah, because that's where accents come from.
But the character is always Russian, or always has a Russian accent, so I just expect her to have it, I guess. But yeah, no, I guess that's
that actually could be more realistic.
Yeah.
That's not the reason they did it. She just didn't want to do a Russian accent,
or
as far as I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
what kind of makes it more glaring later, of course, is the Scarlet Witch has one.
Mm-hmm. And accents like that are a little bit tough to do, I feel, where it doesn't become silly.
I mean, the difference, of course, is... I mean, it makes sense that Scarlet Witch has it, and that she wouldn't necessarily affect it.
Because she grew up there, and it wasn't trained out of her.
Yeah, and Scarlet Witch has trained herself to be able to speak a flawless American accent.
Mm.
I mean, of course, we have different accents in different parts of the country, but that comes from other things.
Mm-hmm.
That's not because we're speaking different languages. I think, Eric, I think the reason that Sarah and I always resisted this is because they spend so much time with it, and then it doesn't really culminate into anything.
No.
You really expect it to go somewhere.
And why wouldn't they get the bird from Russia?
Well, I don't think it would matter if it came from Russia. It's not his bird.
Right, but why wouldn't they get his bird?
Maybe they didn't know where it was? I don't know. My assumption is that he thinks he wouldn't be able to tell. Who could tell that this isn't their bird? Yeah. Just get a bird, it's the same type.
But this is my favorite thing in this whole movie.
Yeah.
And I just love quoting this all the time. He's not going to be able to get his head in that air. Try to get your head in that.
See, you can't get your head in there because it's supposed to be a Krang bodysuit.
Oh.
So you're supposed to be seeing out the stomach.
That makes sense. But yeah, when through the majority of your movie, your villain is constantly lying to another person and just saying whatever he needs to manipulate him, it makes it really hard to get him.
Mm.
And I think they think that we've spent enough time with him and that speech he has to Stark is enough.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's my big problem with this movie.
And this is a continuing, I brought it up in the first film, we're going to continue talking about drones and people versus machines. It's going to go into Ultron. If they work, they would. Like, those don't exist.
That's true, except for the bucking a trend thing, the jumping onto a fad thing.
Mm.
Even if that works, it might disappoint people that it's not like Iron Man.
That's true.
You know, there's the fad factor.
Yeah, this is what's hot. This is what's blowing up right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going back to earlier, I don't like that in that moment he comes up with the War Machine.
Mm.
It is real forced.
Well, he doesn't say the War Machine.
Yeah, he says, "You want to be the War Machine?"
No, he says, "Do you want to be a War Machine?"
No, he says, "Do you want to be the War Machine?" That's what he said.
Oh, it's the?
Yeah.
Oh, I always said that as a joke.
Yeah, it is. It's the War Machine, and I don't like that name coming up before he's got guns all over him.
Mm.
Like, there's a reason that Iron Man is Iron Man and he's War Machine.
Yep.
They have different attributes.
This whole thing is really weird, and I don't know where this comes from in the script. This, like, Da Vinci Code, like, mystery thing.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but it's a weird choice.
Yeah, when I wrote about it, I kind of came to the conclusion that it doesn't ultimately make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a really weird choice. Like, how do you get 2/3 the way through your script and then go, oh, there's a hidden secret in, like, a map?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't that kind of movie.
All of a sudden we'll go to an Indiana Jones place.
Yeah. Does the element thing come up in Carter? In Agent Carter?
I don't think so.
Because...
I mean, they only got 2 seasons, so they might have been planning to do something with it later.
Because it's a weird thing. Like, I discovered a new element, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
It's real weird.
That always felt real convoluted and contrived to me.
It almost feels like it's just comic booky. Like, well,
Yes.
we can do whatever we want. He invents a new element.
And we want to make it seem really hard to figure out. But then the risk you run is making it really silly that he figures it out at all, which I think is kind of what happens here. If he needs shield, I mean, I guess it's kind of okay because he was a founding member, and so I guess he would have expected that he could get someone to bring information to Tony about it.
So we retconned this as early as this film.
Retcon what?
SHIELD having just formed not long before Iron Man 1.
Well, once again, that's always an implied thing that's never specifically stated. I don't think they come out and say it's a new organization. It just feels like it because they don't have a name yet. So that's really weird. But is there anything where they come right out
I don't think
and
so.
say that like it's a newer organization?
I don't think so.
But that's clearly the implication.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't they have come up with the acronym that obviously would have to come before you would write out the name of the organization? It has to start there.
Yeah, because otherwise that's a bit convenient.
That's a show that's not on TV anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think. It's at least not popular anymore.
But I don't mind a few dated references.
No. Especially because these movies do seem to take place kind of
cement this and Marvel Comics did that all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was very much supposed to be our world with superheroes in it.
I'm not complaining about it. I think it's fun.
I didn't think you were, but that's just an opinion I have. So I thought I'd talk
this
about
is
it.
a really nice attention to detail. That is a different design than what he's got in his chest now. It looks like the one in the first one.
Yeah.
I like that. This is my favorite scene in the whole movie. I know you don't think it's funny, but I think
it's funny. I just don't think it's as funny as you do. And it's a thing I feel like I've seen a lot before this.
But it's all his delivery.
Yeah.
And some of the weird line choices he chooses. Because it's clearly a scene
it's
that
good.
he
It's just in the theater, I remember thinking, like, yes, of course we're doing that scene. What's much funnier is that he's always sucking on a sucker. I think that's just the best thing.
But how many licks does it take to get to the center of that lollipop he has?
Oh, I'm sorry, the world may never know. I mean, this is a really important scene because it demonstrates just how hard he's trying.
Which is the only gun I think we'll see on the armor. Like, he says he puts all of them in there.
Yeah.
That's the only one that, like, distinctly is there.
Yeah, and I'm sure people spotted that and were like, oh, that's the gun that goes on his shoulder.
Oh, and that's the other thing that's different in the other ending is it works. The ex-wife actually works. It's not a joke in that other ending.
I kind of like it better. I kind of like it not working better, just because his tech was established at the beginning as being real defective. So I like the idea that the only things that work are standard things, standard equipment, or things that he's altered a little bit, but you can't do much to. Like, okay, the machine gun works. We've had machine guns forever. I love the look on Cheadle's face there, because
he's not giving him anything.
Yeah, and he's not taking him seriously. And it looks like in the back of his mind he's thinking, God, this guy wants to be wants to be my boss, my friend so bad.
Yeah. I can't read you. You look like a thinks. That's the thing I say sometimes.
Yeah, he plays insecure but trying to hide it with full confidence so well.
Yeah. And he can play fully confident too. Like, I've seen him play that guy.
Oh, of course, yeah. He's extremely versatile.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's the difference between him and Beeblebrox. Is Beeblebrox actually is confident. He just doesn't. There's no justification for how confident he is because he's completely incompetent.
And it's been a while since I saw that movie, but I imagine he plays it slightly differently.
Oh yeah, much differently, sure, but there are similarities.
I think it's been too long since we've seen his dad in this movie.
Yes,
like his dad's kind of looming, but I don't think enough.
He hasn't been enough of a presence.
Yeah.
I always like when he's on screen.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
I almost feel like it. I don't know. I hesitate saying this. I almost feel like it could have used a flashback at the beginning.
Maybe.
But maybe not. Maybe something with him and Vanko's dad.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that retroactively after the flashback at the beginning of Ant-Man worked out so well.
Yeah.
I kind of want that again.
Well,
and when I say again, I mean first.
It's funny because he's, in this moment, when he's in this movie...
I like him drinking there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
In this moment in time when this movie's being made, he's getting typecast here because he's on Mad Men.
I was gonna... Okay.
And that's exactly why they think of him, I'm sure.
Who is he in Mad Men? Because I've seen the first couple
He's
seasons
the
of
boss.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have the mustache.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched that, but I didn't right away place that.
I watched about half of that first season, really liked it, and then something got me derailed, and I've always meant to go back to it.
I lost interest in the middle of the second season, but that first season is wonderful.
Yeah. What I watched, I really liked. Maybe it was a little bit more than half. I almost finished it, I think. I like all of this, and I think all of this feels a lot more powerful of his... If Tony's relationship with his dad should be more of the forefront of this film, and how bad that relationship was.
Yeah, and we should be mirroring a relationship with Vanko and his father. Like, that's what this movie should be about, it feels like.
Because he's going to get to this point where he says, like, you are my greatest creation. Like, that should really feel like something. And it's a nice scene, but within the film itself, it doesn't really feel like it builds him to this.
No, that's a lot more poignant, again, when we know more stuff about their relationship later.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and about Howard Stark's history.
And I like that kind of realistically, even though he gets this confirmation from his dad, the chip isn't off his shoulder, and he still doesn't like Steve Rogers a little bit because his dad always liked him more. And even though he knows his dad loved him, it doesn't fix it immediately.
Yeah.
That's
there are certain things you can't fix at all.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have those issues that are most deep seated with your parents, especially because of the things that remind you too much of yourself, that you don't like, you want to be them.
Yeah.
The things he hates most about his father are some of those really predominant personality traits in himself.
Yeah.
So this is one of those improv things that could have worked or could have been obnoxious. The thing with this thing spinning on the desk, I think is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
He's like, can we please put that...
Because we're all thinking it.
Yeah, it's great. Well, the way it's framed is great.
She's a pinhead. I like that.
He's always calling people pinheads.
And I do like this, looking at the...
I just like that somebody had... Sorry, I like that somebody had to write O'Reilly's talking points for him. Because he does that. Like O'Reilly always has... everything he's saying written up is bullet points.
It's a segment. Because Colbert parodies it and he calls it The Word. I forget what O'Reilly's actually called, but it's a segment that he specifically does.
Yeah, but when he's not interviewing someone, every point he makes is always up there like that. And he's mostly just reading what you're reading, and he could have just published an article. I don't understand that, and I think it's just the dumbest way to do a show. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Well, my guess would be...
Here's a thing I never talk about.
Well, my guess would be...
Yeah.
He's on a channel that is often played in airports and places like that. It is knowing that you are being broadcast to a place that probably doesn't have sound on.
No one else does it.
But one of the things I really liked about the Bill O'Reilly thing is, because we do this a lot in movies where we're so focused on their personal life, we don't stop and think about what this looks like to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And I like that he does this thing that we're completely 100% behind, because we know she's this really responsible character, and she's basically running the company anyways, and all of these things. The rest of the world, they don't know that. It looks like he just hired his girlfriend.
Yeah, you never know the behind the scenes of this stuff.
Or he just promoted his girlfriend, yeah.
And I guess we assume everything must be even a lot worse than it looks, but sometimes it's better and you don't know.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine that brought up, that brings up with the Rocky movies, like what the rest of the world must look like watching the sport of boxing through the Rocky movies, where it's like, oh yeah, there's the champ, and he lost to a no one, and then he, and then he trains that no one after another no one beats the new champ, and then like what that, and then like 6 months later they have another title match. Like, it's insane. That's not how sports work.
Yeah, like if you don't know what happened behind the scenes with him and Creed, a lot of that looks really weird.
Yeah.
And then like who's training who and who's on the side of the ring, and and of course you don't have the human element. You don't know very much about.
Yeah, you were just seeing the.
Because I thought where you were going with that is if you're just watching those matches, they're not nearly as dramatic as
that's
if you've
true
been
too.
following him through the streets the whole time.
Well, that's true too, but just
what it means to him, what he's actually fighting for.
But just the publicized parts of it too, where like even if you're following that sport, you don't know what's happening between them personally. So it's insane.
Yeah, like nobody can fully understand Tony Stark or Oliver Queen. They weren't in the cave. They weren't on the island. I also kind of like the thing with the strawberries. Like, I knew there was a thing with strawberries. Like, he's so into himself.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is a
there
thing
is something with strawberries. Yeah.
I
like that. That feels human.
That feels real believable to me.
You either hated them or you really disliked them. It was one of the two.
This is where stuff gets really problematic. If he didn't just happen to notice that, he's a dead person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why Fury knowing what he knows isn't enough, because he puts him kind of on the trail, but there wasn't in that video that comes right out and tells him a thing that nobody else would know about. It's too buried.
Yeah, it's a real weird way to go with your script. Like, and you can do this in a movie, but that needs to be the movie.
Well, I don't know. The thing for me that's weird about it, I don't know that the whole movie has to be him like searching for clues. I just think it's too hard for him to find. It's too buried. Like clearly, there should be a key that's more where he could get at it,
or
and
something
else
that
could,
only he would know.
Yeah, exactly. So that we still buy that that Howard Stark has put it somewhere that it's not going to get in the wrong hands.
Like if his dad said something about like baseball, and he's like, my dad never watched baseball. He was a basketball fan, or like something like that. That's a clue that only Tony Stark would get.
And that can be really goofy, but sometimes it can really work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the part of the movie I always liked. I much prefer this to the villain plot.
Well, there's
Star.
There's a thing about sometimes it's nice to just see people who are good at something doing the thing that they're good at, and that's kind of what this whole scene is.
Well, and Sarah, that's real consistent with you with superheroes. Mm-hmm. You don't want plots with a lot of superheroes. You want Superman to fly around saving people.
Yeah.
You want Spawn to run around killing people. Like, that's...
You want Venom to go around eating people.
Yeah, sure. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, well, but, generally. Yeah, I mean, this is Iron Man.
But I don't like that he's going to create an element.
So you don't like them as people. You like superheroes as an idea.
Yes.
Yeah,
she's real Golden Age. That's why Sarah's always been more of a Batman Superman person than a Marvel person.
That makes sense.
And why I don't read modern. I read all the old stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Sarah doesn't understand why I spend so much money on current comics, because...
Well, I mean, looking at the landscape of current comics, I could question the same thing in some ways.
Oh, there's some cool stuff.
No, there's some good stuff.
I'm also a collector.
That's true.
Eric keeps making fun of me because I'm buying Carnage and not reading it. I don't like that book. I'm still buying it because I collect Carnage. But at least the covers are great.
That's true. They're beautiful covers.
That at least gives... I feel more validated because I'm at least buying an object that I like in some capacity.
You're spending $4 for a piece of art every week.
That's right. Not every week. Oh, thank God it's not a weekly book. Oh, boy. I couldn't have that.
You know what?
This is where the music is closer to where it was in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that theme shows up here.
Yeah, I don't know.
But this riff is that riff, and the percussion, and I really like this percussion for.
It's a little bit more rocky than I don't mean rocky the film version. I mean, it's a little bit more like hard rocky than I think it is in the first film.
Some of it gets to that place too there, but I like that heavy percussion rock stuff while he's jackhammering and stuff. And that's really cool because it feels like the sounds of what he's doing become part of the score.
This is a weird thing where like he just left to go deal with the Thor thing.
Yeah.
And like it feels like we didn't need him here. He's just here for reference, and he wouldn't do this.
No, he wouldn't. This doesn't work at all later on.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no. I don't know what that is at this point, actually.
Well, his dad made a bunch of different shields. Like, that could be a prototype thing.
But why is it here? Like, it's in his office, and it doesn't look like a thing he got from his dad. Like, if he had picked that up earlier when he picked up other stuff from his dad, okay, but it looks like something he's been working on?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that because of what we know from First Avenger, but this movie is implying that Tony Stark invents that shield.
Maybe?
Everything else in this room is his.
That's true. That's true. I don't think they're thinking about it.
What's that?
I don't think they're thinking about it.
I think they thought at this point Tony Stark made that shield.
That might be. You know, there's a thing that
some of this is kind of strange going back to.
It's interesting how much of this movie is improved by later films and how much of it is really weird now because of later films.
Not too much of it is that way, but there are things like that.
Mm-hmm. But there's a thing with Iron Man 3, I think I talked about in Iron Man 1, where the interior of his house is different in Iron Man 3 than it is in Iron Man 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is an easy explanation for why that is.
No, good call.
He just renovated everything.
He's gonna need to.
Mm-hmm.
And by everything, you mean everything.
So he gets away from the triangle real fast.
Circle. Oh, you mean moving forward, the triangle? Yeah.
Yeah, moving forward, he gets away from the triangle.
And that's a choice Joss Whedon made because he doesn't like the triangle. I agree with him. I don't like Iron Man with the triangle.
It's
I like Iron Man with the circle.
See, I don't mind it.
And Iron Man 3 just goes, what if it was any shape? What if it was a rectangle? What if it was a square? What if it was an octagon?
Like, yeah, we get real Power Rangers Zeo with that.
And then he's, for the most part, kept the circle ever since. And I like the circle. I think he could go back to the triangle. I wouldn't mind.
I kind of like the idea that it being a different power source, it's a different color. I mean, it's a different shape.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed that for some reason it had to be that shape. That's why I always questioned going back to the circle.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he needed a new element. But, I mean, it's goofy to think, well, that element must be in this shape in order to work.
Especially because elements are circular to begin with. They're like orbs, so if you, look at it.
Actually, Justin Hammer, you're an idiot for not knowing the difference between a presentation and a demonstration.
Mm.
I love how condescending he is.
Yeah.
That he won't even address him by any kind of a name or a title. He just calls him man.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we're spending too much time on this. No, really, because
It's the last time it's mentioned.
No, just throughout the movie, we're spending too much time on it. It keeps feeling like we're supposed to be really paying attention to this. Why does he even care that he grabs that bird? He's complaining that it's not his bird, and then Justin Hammer's even bringing that up, and he's confused. So I feel like I'm supposed to like they're addressing how confusing this is. So like, okay, this is gonna pay off in some way, and then it doesn't, and I don't understand why it's here.
I really like the line, "I took your stuff. How does that make you feel?"
Yeah, and that's the thing that's... I mean, it could have been made more interesting, I suppose, but that's the thing I like between Vanko and Stark, that Stark, of course, is really materialistic, and he does not care about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they both care about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But Stark has this kind of conflict of... sort of what does he care more about, his legacy or whatever he's working on. Clearly, it actually is his legacy, because he kind of is ready to just lie down on a donut and die. But he does care about how people look at him, and that's his big weakness, and that's what Vanko can go after.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all Vanko cares about is his father's legacy. That's really the big difference. And so we're trying to get right to the heart at his narcissism.
He never brings his father up.
No, he doesn't.
Publicly. Like if he was going to infiltrate the expo at the end, there should be like a point where he has like a speech on the screens where he's like, "This is my father, this is what he did.
Yeah, sure.
And this is what was taken from him."
Yeah, it seems like it's enough for him just to publicly humiliate him and make
or
him seem
maybe he thinks that
incompetent and irrelevant, and
maybe he thinks that
maybe it's more about the technology,
or that he knows that his dad's not going to get credit, so he just wants to take it away from Tony Stark as well. Like, my legacy is ruined, and I'm just going to ruin yours too.
Yeah. That's what I assumed it was supposed to be.
There's also far more interesting implications to him.
Now he is talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also more interesting implications with him when he was younger.
Well, you're right, he doesn't talk about it publicly, but he does bring it up to Stark.
But we talk about, like, when he was younger, that, like, he was making, like, dirty bombs for people, and, like, that's why he's in prison. Like, that has nothing to do with Tony Stark. Like,
yeah.
He's kind of got an interesting backstory that we're not going to see or talk about. Because I imagine, I mean, this isn't going to mean anything to you, but I imagine when he was a kid, or when he was younger, he was very similar to Ezekiel Stane in Fractions Run, in the first arc.
I love this coconut thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a little over the top. The light itself,
I think, is a
little over the top. It's a weird way to transition a scene. We'll never make it that bright again.
Yeah, it really feels like it's just a transition. It's not actually that bright.
Well, he just gets used to the brightness. The extra power.
Okay. So it's from his POV. We're also used to the brightness now.
Yeah.
Our eyes don't have to adjust like they did before.
This is a Sam Rockwell thing. Sam Rockwell can dance amazingly, and he does it in any movie he gets the chance.
Yep.
I want to be able to dance like Sam Rockwell.
And of course, here he's being goofy.
Well, and it's funny because what he's doing is with his legs is really impressive, and everyone's acting like he's being really lame, and I think that's funny.
Yeah, because even if he's skilled at that, he's so lame in every other way, no one cares.
Mm-hmm.
He's ruining dancing by being that guy and dancing well. That's what's going on. If he went on Dancing with the Stars, there would be moves no one would be allowed to do on that show for 5 years because he did them, and masterfully. That seems to happen sometimes when people are, especially like in high school, you get in cliques and things where, if we've ostracized a person and decided that they're not the cool kid, all the stuff they're actually good at is also not cool.
Yep. You know, it'd be interesting if he came back to bring up to Tony, like, you know, you started using drones.
Yeah. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, he kind of did. The problem is they had AI with an ideology in them.
Well, but he used drones with Iron Man 3 as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Those are the worst toys.
I'm sorry. I guess I missed what you said. I thought you said he should come back and suggest drones.
No,
I don't know what you said.
No. That Justin Hammer should be like, you started using drones. Like, you made this big deal about how you shouldn't, and I don't know. I think there's something you could do with that. The second ones that come up, the one with the big rocket launchers, are the worst toy. If you got
toys
those
for this game, or for this movie, were the worst.
No, that's
in general.
3. 2 had an amazing toy line.
Really?
Yes.
No, I thought 2 had some really bad, like smaller figures. If 2 had good toys, I never saw them.
Oh no, I was collecting the toys from 2.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because they were
Maybe
doing,
your taste in toys suck.
They were doing all these Iron Man armors, and like a lot of comic book ones, like it just had a great toy line. But those ones in the back there, the big rocket pack things on their shoulders, didn't click into anything. They sat on the shoulders. So if you were ever playing with them,
they just fall out.
I like the design for War Machine here. I think we'll get better at it, but I like the design here initially.
It is kind of funny that Hammer has substandard technology and all this stuff sucks, and yet he does add that machine gun to his arsenal, and will continue keeping it on that suit.
Yep.
I guess, although he's not going to be wearing that post this movie. Well, no, he brings it back.
And I don't know why he isn't the one to name him War Machine. Like, he comes up and he's like, it's you know, RX-78 or like whatever a serial number.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you call him War Machine.
Yeah, I guess I should save this for later, but like, why is he not still Iron Patriot past 3? Why does he go back to War Machine?
I'm not sure.
It's a dumb name is good enough for me.
Yeah.
Well, especially because in that movie he seems obsessed with War Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, that's the movie where he's got the sign-in name, and it's really funny.
The password is War Machine Rocks.
Oh, the password, yeah.
It's like all caps with an X.
I love that. That was pretty funny.
Well, and that movie's commentary on how we merchandise and redesign things to be more palatable. And so, it makes sense for that movie that he becomes Iron Patriot, because we're making fun of how we do things like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so after that, he just...
And that's not in any way to his personality or taste or anything.
Yeah, and he doesn't like it, and yeah. No, I really like the Iron Patriot stuff in that movie.
I do think he gets enough screen time in this.
Yeah, we could have seen him maybe once more.
I just wish he did more
in between
the first film.
Yeah. And I wonder if we would feel that much, or feel that way that much, if it was the same actor.
No, we still would.
Do you think so?
I really do. I think it is, to a lesser degree, still kind of that Bucky problem, where he's not given enough screen time for us to really understand their
friendship.
Yeah.
And we never really explained that. Like, in the comics, initially he is ex-military, and he's Tony Stark's pilot. There's a reason that their friendship builds, or there's a relationship that their friendship builds off of. They're just friends in the movies.
Well, starting in Iron Man, he's already working for him, isn't he?
He's still military.
Is he?
Yeah, they just seem to be friends. Maybe he's the liaison between.
Yeah, he really seems like he's somehow rather part of that organization or involved with it, and it always makes sense when I watch that movie. So I can't remember what exactly it is because I never questioned it.
Mm.
And when we were watching it last time, we were talking over it, so I don't remember what I thought it was. But
yeah, maybe he is the liaison between the military and Stark.
I mean, he's not just following him around. He has some kind of a job there. The first time I saw it, I assumed bodyguard, but then he was in the military.
And Happy's there, and Happy's his bodyguard.
Right.
And he's dropped out of this movie. Oh, no, he's not. No, he hasn't.
No, because he's going to have that fight scene with Black Widow.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yep.
As we're talking about that.
Yep. What would she have done if she drove? She couldn't change into her outfit.
That's true.
Maybe she's really skilled.
That she can change and drive?
Yeah. Don't change.
Oh, yeah, because there's going to be that bit where he keeps trying to look at her in the mirror.
No, she would have just had to fight in high heels.
Yep. I think she still does, doesn't she?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But she's got that form-fitting outfit that is way more tactical. Well, I mean, I guess she's in a dress. Like, it makes sense to switch clothes.
Yeah. I don't know that we necessarily needed to see the outfit before. Like, why did they have to be all suited up when they were in the donut shop?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's to show up Tony Stark they mean business.
When we first saw this, which feels like eons ago now, we do this a lot. This is the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yep. And it's a thing that we do
I love that.
with the Marvel movies a lot, where we bring in actual merchandising and have people having that.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. It's probably even more fun for kids. Like, I own that toy.
I mean, I guess different kids are different. I feel like I kind of maybe could buy that's what some kids might do.
Yeah.
Especially because he's in this strange place and he's a little kid, and this is all about Tony Stark and Tony Stark is Iron Man. He might think this is all a show.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible he has no idea what's even going on. And that he's pretending to be Iron Man with a big machine that he thinks is also pretending, maybe?
Maybe. That might be a little bit of reach, but
yeah,
maybe.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Jason would do.
I don't think he'd do that.
I don't think he'd do. Yeah, he probably wouldn't do that. He would probably be running.
Oh, there's an interesting conversation to have about maybe in one of these films. I guess we do it a little bit in Iron Man 3, but that Tony Stark is not a role model, and he knows he's not a role model, but he is.
Yeah.
That's something that would be interesting to deal with.
Well, and that is part of what this movie is about, is that everything he does matters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to be more careful about what kind of an example he's setting. Because when you're in the limelight like that, like I do really like that this movie is trying to be about the consequences of coming out and saying that you're that superhero.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like they had a really solid idea of what they wanted this movie to be thematically.
And that's the next logical step.
Yeah. And again, not something that we'd ever done in a superhero movie before. It's tackling really different ideas.
It doesn't matter if you want to be a role model.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to decide that.
Yeah.
You have an effect on people, and people will look up to you even if you don't want them to. And it's interesting to look at that with anti-heroes, too.
Like Wolverine.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I do think... I don't know if Black Widow's probably initially supposed to be in this movie. Like, that seems like a Marvel mandate. And that's one of the big things people always point to this film, that this movie is just a trailer for the Avengers, and I've never agreed with that.
And that's what I was starting to bring up earlier. I'm really glad that you went back to that, because I forgot that I had started to go to that place. Mm-hmm. When this first came out, that was my and Sarah's big complaint.
Was that felt like it was just setting up the Avengers?
We both felt like they were forcing too much, set up for that in the film.
And I've never felt this film has that much of it.
These movies are so interconnected now that I can't even
it's hard going
begin
back
to feel that way about it.
Yeah, but in the moment,
and of course you know where it's going and how it works out.
Yeah,
it was just it felt intrusive, I thought.
We really could have the S.H.I.E.L.D. presence without having to necessarily talk about the Avenger Initiative.
Which we don't really until the end, which is kind of intrusive. And is that weird contractual thing where we're basically telling you what the negotiations going on with Rob Downey Jr. right now as this movie's being made.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is so weird to look back on now. All of this was so rocky when it was starting out. Robert Downey Jr. is just gonna keep making these movies as long as he feels like making these movies.
Yeah,
but like we were worried he wouldn't even make it to Avengers.
Even a couple of years ago, we were still hearing news back and forth all the time where it's like, here's how many he's still contracted for.
Mm-hmm. Because Iron Man 3 is the end of his original contract.
He's not contractually obligated for anything now. He doesn't have to keep coming back. There's a lot of talk. And I don't know I don't know what it is now, but
well, and it was something I think with Iron Man 3, like he signed on.
It seemed like it was just movie to movie after that, but I don't know.
For like 3 more team movies or like something like that.
Oh, really?
And then,
okay.
But Civil War throws a big monkey wrench in that, and then Spider-Man, and like I think he's just doing whatever he wants. It seems like he's still enjoying.
Like he's doing whatever they're asking him to.
Yeah.
And they're paying him, so. I'm glad he still likes working with them.
Yeah, maybe he just doesn't
his presence
necessarily want to carry a film. Like he likes playing this character, likes being in the movies, but he doesn't want to actually show up and do a whole movie. Maybe.
I don't know if he stalled out on Iron Man 4 or if they just haven't had a good place.
Well, and he said he wants to do Iron Man 4 and he wants Mel Gibson to direct.
That's
which is
interesting.
A real interesting choice.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
I wonder why that's what he wants.
But he said that.
And Mel Gibson's a real controversial figure. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah.
That that's his pick.
I don't know if they're friends. Maybe they're friends.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's part of why he picked Shane Black.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. There might be a circle there.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing that kind of banter that seems improvised. Maybe it's not between screens.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's pretty impressive.
And usually the choppy jumping back and forth footage I would frown on. It works there.
Yeah,
it helps that comedic timing. I think it's great. So there's a line here that everybody loves that you probably hear me quote constantly, and it's weird because I was talking about how I think this is one of the lesser Marvel movies, but there's stuff that I get from it that I say all the time. I say you should have led with that constantly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's maybe even a phrase that just starts getting put in things more often after this movie. I like that he's full of himself too in his own way.
Yeah. Well,
but obviously
it seems like he's full of himself with Tony or to Tony.
Yes, but not necessarily with anybody else.
Yeah. Although there is a little bit of that.
He's more of a team player. He's got a lot more humility when he calls for it, yeah.
There is a little bit of that in Age of Ultron where he tells, like, the War Machine story, and Thor's like, yeah, and?
Yeah.
He's like, that's a war machine. It was a good story.
Yeah, and I love the bit where then he goes and tells it to
normal people.
Some ladies, and they all crack up. He's like, see, I told you. He walks off, he's still vindicated. Yeah, yep. That's a great scene.
I think part of the problem with this ending
is that they're robots.
Well, yes, but part of the problem with this ending, given that it is trying to be a different kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be a standard superhero movie. It's not trying to be a standard superhero sequel. This is the standard, the last movie, but bigger.
It's very much the same problem you had with the first movie.
Mm-hmm. But bigger.
It has degenerated into this standard superhero ending.
And this is also
but the second act also somewhat degenerated in a different way. Where
yeah.
Just things aren't really adding up, and I'm not as invested as I should be.
There's a really cool thing here.
I just love that.
Where he uses it and he like dislodges those things. He's going to use those again in Avengers to weld something, and then it's going to click out. Like, there's a continuity to technology that people are paying attention to that I really like.
Yeah, the tech stuff we do with this is not the problem.
No.
They're nailing all of that.
Well, I just mean from, like, team to team, like every
Yeah.
time, like someone is keeping track of Iron Man's technology in a certain way. That I really like that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm glad that that wasn't a place where we kind of fell apart. Where like,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are things to build on in this movie.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
I
I want the suitcase armor. I want a suitcase. I don't even need the armor. I just want a suitcase.
mean, we'll go to a thrift shop. I can get you a suitcase.
No, but I want the suitcase armor suitcase.
Um,
If I could buy anything for this movie, it would be the suitcase armor suitcase.
but
But then I could actually use it as a suitcase and like go on trips with it. Be awesome.
one of the things, if you remember in the trailer for this movie, it ended with all those suits like coming down.
Yeah.
That made this feel so much bigger than it actually is. This is actually kind of a small scale movie. But
yeah.
they do it in like this forest looking environment. It looks like you're going to go to an exotic location and it's going to be this big scale threat. It's
You
not.
mean like
it's
in the trailer?
dome.
That's what it feels
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
And I don't mind that. I like that the Iron Man films, all three of them, are much more intimate films.
Yeah, the scale's not giant. I mean,
it is more in three.
we're taking out a whole lot of stuff around this neighborhood, but it's not.
The whole world
It's
doesn't
not
have to
taking
be
over the world plot. It's not a destroy the city plot.
He's dead.
And he's not even putting a lot of people in danger, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Well, no, I guess his robots were, flying all over the place.
Yeah, and they were
things.
shooting people,
He had to
yeah.
save a kid, and okay, well, there's that.
And this fight's just too short.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this isn't what happened, but it feels like they just ran out of budget. It's like they put all their
Well, and given that there is
resources
a
in that great
completely
fight at the beginning.
and given that there's a completely different ending, maybe they didn't have a lot of budget. Where like they didn't account for this in the budget of making this film. Is we're gonna
But
have
that
this big
different
ending.
ending isn't a whole other fight sequence. It's just
But it doesn't have
standing
this
there
fight
talking.
sequence at all.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is this fight sequence doesn't exist in that ending,
It would have been really weird if that's what they went with.
so they didn't allot
Because
for
then
this
you don't
money.
even have a climactic fight sequence with your villain at all.
Yeah.
Unless are you sure some of this wasn't in it? That
the
some of this
drone
leads
the
up to
drones
it?
it. The drones are, but he never shows up with the armor.
Because he lands and has Pepper with him. Is that what it is?
Well, he just walks up. Because he's just in regular clothes and he has a small whip. He doesn't
Is
have
that
an
what
armor
it
at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's been too long since I've seen that,
Yeah.
that scene, and I always thought the one time for the rewind. Well, at least they set that up.
Yeah, but that's what I don't like about it. I feel like it's a really easy setup payoff, and it's I don't know, like it
It's not
seems
even
like
a
a dumb way to
payoff.
beat your villain.
You can't even call it a payoff so much as just, well, we know that's a thing we can do. I guess it is in the sense that if you think that he did that because he knows that you can create a shockwave based on what happened earlier, I never made that assumption.
Oh, that was always my assumption.
Okay. That makes sense.
And this is just the Predator.
See, I think with his initial motivation, this would work better if it's not just kill Tony Stark, but find a way to get everyone to blame him for what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with both. I'm okay with I'm going to take you out, but I'm also going to take your reputation with me.
It's interesting because that's kind of everything that Fraction does in his run with the Hammer Twins.
I should read that.
I would love to read through that with you. I've reread that run like 4 or 5 times.
I really like what I read of that run. Or is that a different run?
No, that is the same run.
Is that like toward the middle or the end of Stark Resilient? Or because I read the beginning of Stark Resilient.
Yeah. Stark Resilient is kind of the middle of that. It's kind of like the beginning of the second act of that whole run.
Sarah, we should come up with scenarios for videos where we just talk like this. We should just like come up with something to argue about and just keep talking over each other constantly.
That could be fun.
That'd be fun.
It's just
I don't
every
know.
day in the Williamson household.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it would be,
No idea.
but I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I just wake up, I come upstairs, so much banter going on all the time.
It's like, Why are you always calling yourself captain? You're not captain of anything. You keep telling people that I call you Captain Logan. I've never called you captain anything. Get a roof. I love him.
I've said this before, but I think it's really interesting that like the billionaire playboy swinger guy has the most long-running stable relationship of any superhero in film.
Yep, it's great. It's too bad it's already over.
Well, it's on the rocks. With Civil War.
We don't know if we'll ever get Gwyneth Paltrow
It seems
back.
like she doesn't want to come back.
It's on the rocks because we can't get her to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the only reason it's on the rocks. I don't know that we actually...
I don't know, thematically it worked for Civil War.
Thematically, but we didn't get to see it happen, and that's a problem.
It's true.
I mean, I guess she's not with him by the end of 3.
No, she is.
Is she still?
Yeah, she's still with him at the end.
Okay. Well, see...
Because he blows up all the armor.
We don't get to see it happen on
big.
screen. So, thematically, sure, but, like, within the story, organic?
Yeah.
It's a thing I can believe would happen. I really like that he's giving excuses for everything, and then he gets to this and he says, "Okay, fine. Agreed. Yeah." That's one word. It's the line delivery of his that most sticks with me.
But I also think
I really like it.
There's a certain level of self-deprecation.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. That's why the line delivery is so great.
Where like he's like, yeah, like I'm gonna give you this one because I think it's funny, but I don't know if he actually believes that about himself in a certain way. I don't know.
What I thought what you meant is that he does and he wouldn't have earlier. Like I think that's just I think that's somewhat of his arc.
Yeah. This scene's so weird.
Like you're right.
You could cut this scene out of this movie, and like the Marvel Cinematic Universe would change not at all.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I need the textbook narcissism line. I want that somewhere.
Because that is kind of going to be kind of what he deals with in Avengers.
Yes.
See, he's double angry because he's also Hydra.
Yeah.
There's so many layers now.
It's true. It's really layered. Yeah, he had a vested interest in getting his hands on that. That movie is just freaking brilliant.
See, and when he's going to poke him with this pin here, it's Hydra poking Tony Stark.
That's right, yeah. It's Hydra calling him a prick.
This movie is both better and worse because of subsequent
subsequent
films.
It is, but this was a way more fun watch than the last time I watched this.
It's a really fun movie.
Because the last time I watched it, well, besides that commentary we did, the last time I watched this, I was walking into a movie that I thought was a pretty good movie, and then realizing all the things that don't work about it. And now I just know that, and so I can enjoy it again. Nothing's jumping out at me, there's no surprises.
It says Stanley himself, so he is in fact not playing.
It always says that, though.
Yeah, I know. Oh, wait, does it always say himself?
I think there are a couple places actually where it doesn't. I'm wrong about that. Anyway. Maybe it doesn't even most of the time do that. I'm not even sure.
I don't know.
Anyway. But he is, in fact, according to the credits, not supposed to...
Oh, Larry Lieber gets created by credit. That's interesting.
Huh.
I mean, he writes a lot of the early Iron Man stuff. It makes sense, but I don't think he writes issue 1, and that's usually what we go by for creation.
Sure.
Is just issue 1. Or, I mean, it's not issue 1.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like, and this is a conversation we have all the time, sometimes I feel like if you've added enough to the core of the character toward the beginning, even if you weren't there when like the initial design of the concept came up, maybe you should get a creator credit.
Yeah. I saw there was like an art concepts design credit for Genndy Tartakovsky.
Oh yeah, we talked about this, and in fact I intentionally avoided it.
Oh.
Because we talked about it in the last commentary.
Oh, I didn't remember that. I'd forgotten.
He storyboards some of that action sequence at the end.
That's cool.
With all the cars exploding and the things the
That's
drones flying by,
really
and you can
Tartakovsky.
tell that's real Tartakovsky.
Yeah, I know you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, Favreau talks in the commentary about how he called him up and asked him to do something.
It's been a long time since I listened to the commentary. Because I have listened to it, but maybe I just...
No, and I thought you knew that, and there wasn't any reason to
I'd
bring it up,
forgotten.
except that's a thing I know, so I just avoided it.
Yeah, no, I'd forgotten. Now, I'm interested to see if we start doing the...
Special thanks?
Yeah, special thanks here. Because I don't think... it wasn't in Hulk or...
Was it not?
I didn't
It's
see
probably
it.
later than this when we start doing it then.
I want to say it happens in Thor and Captain America.
You know, it is crazy going back and thinking that we skipped a whole year since we get at least 2, and now we're going to get 3 of these a year.
Yeah.
And Marvel was not yet the well-oiled machine that it is now.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I always thought it was a misstep to have that year, but looking at how DC's doing
Misstep to have what?
to have that missing year to take a gap.
Maybe
Because I'm
they
like,
needed
oh,
it.
what?
Maybe they needed
No. And looking at DC, they did need it. Because DC is able to course
DC
correct
should
way
really
better if they had a year
regroup
after
a little
BVS.
bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they had a giant failure in Incredible Hulk. I'm not sure why they took a year off.
I don't think that they knew exactly what they were doing
You
yet.
should know
Yep,
where
there it
they
is.
were
Matt
going.
Fraction, Kevin Hopgood, Len Kaminsky. Ooh, Kaminsky. David McElhinney, John Byrne.
Ramirez.
They credit John Byrne. So somebody read
And
Armor Wars too.
Michelini.
Well, McElhinney and Layton get credit in all of them because they have the definitive run.
I didn't know that.
Oh no. McElhinney and Layton are the definitive run. I mean, I don't fully agree with that, but
I should
he's
read that.
he's the writer on
Read some
Demon in
of
the
that.
Bottle. He's the writer of Armor Wars.
You know, we've talked about reviewing
One day-
Model
one
for
day
like
we'll-
5 years.
Yep. We'll do
We
it one
even
day.
set up a time to do it once, and something happened, and we couldn't meet for it.
I just started reading the omnibus at that point, and I was like, oh well, Demon in the Bottle's right at the beginning, so like I'll be prepared, and I'll have read the stuff before it, because Demon in the Bottle kind of starts a little bit earlier and ends a
We
little bit
still
later.
should just finally do it.
We should.
We've been living together for 6 months, and we still haven't done that.
There's a lot of things we haven't done, and Fraction obviously got credit, but Fraction advised
It
him.
just goes to show the sheer amount of things that we've come up with to do.
Yeah.
Because there are not enough hours.
Well,
a day
and
for
this
all
has
we wanna
been
do.
a major time drain.
Yes, it has.
In us doing other projects.
Yeah, because the initial notion for this was really stupid, but was let's do it live and just watch a whole bunch of movies in a row for as as often as possible with just a few hours of
Yeah.
sleep in between.
It was just
we were
gonna
gonna take like a week or two off and just try to knock out a bunch of them, and then we went. That's not realistic. That can't happen.
Yeah, like we're trying to think like if I took time off work and like how we could do.
Yeah, we were thinking
it.
about coordinating it, and then we were like, that's not possible. I take care of my kids during the day.
Yeah.
Like that's not possible. So we decided to do this as a daily thing. It's been daily as much as we've been able to make it daily.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of this on this viewing?
I liked it better than I did the last time. It's a lot of fun. I'm still not sure about I don't know. I don't like the villain.
He's not great.
No.
Oh no, Magnificent Seven is the Clash. I thought it was the Ramones. Sorry. Music note.
Yeah, everyone's so upset with you for getting that wrong.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure someone was like, it's not the Ramones, it's the Clash. I'm sorry. I just knew it was another punk rock. I don't listen to the Clash after London Calling. I don't like any of that stuff. It's real radio rocky. It's a big step down from what they do for their first 3 albums.
That sounds like the problem people have with R.E.M.
I'm just not as familiar with their later stuff. Sorry, I was talking over you.
Birds and Animals Unlimited.
They had so many birds that they brought in and out of the scene. It would have been great if they brought him a different bird that was supposed to look the same, he's like, that's not my bird.
No, it would have been funnier if they kept trying to give him his bird, but they didn't understand what kind of bird it was. And so
they brought in like every
here's
other
a parrot. Oh, here's a parakeet.
That would have been great. Hey, it's gonna be Thor's hammer.
That's not my bird.
It's gonna be Thor's hammer.
You think so?
It's gonna be Thor's hammer.
We're lingering on this.
Yeah. They try
But
to
this
make
is
big
just
deal out
a
of this.
scene, right?
What do you mean?
This is in Thor, right? This is
Yes.
just a scene? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because we wouldn't shoot a post-credit scene like that, like this.
Huh. That's weird because I just got done watching Breaking Bad again, so it feels like there should be like people tied up out here, or a roving meth lab, or...
How can you tell from way up there?
Hey, you know what you're looking for.
He has really good eyesight.
Oh man, Hercules is in the next
vision.
movie.
I'm so
excited
excited
for Hercules.
That's gonna be great. You know what? After reading the most recent, or what we've had so far, the most recent run of Avengers, I want that.
Thor?
I want
Hercules?
Hercules.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what?
Did
One of
you
these
read the
days,
latest
they're gonna
issue
bring
of Avengers?
Thor to these movies. I just can't wait.
Have you read the latest issue of Avengers that came out, right? Issue 3?
We've had 2. New
Oh
ones.
man, I gotta read them.
There was a new one this week, I think,
Oh, I gotta read them.
and I haven't read them yet.
Oh, it's so
I
good.
love their Hercules.
It's so good.
Anyway,
Apparently Hercules' main book is really good too. He has a book going on.
currently,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that now.
Apparently
because I really
really
like
good.
him in that book. They're gonna screw around and turn me into a Marvel Hercules fan. There's a character I never cared about.
Luckily, he majoritively only has miniseries, so it'd be easy to collect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
And
have to go back and
Bob
read everything.
Layton writes most of those miniseries.
Oh, cool.
It's all connected to Iron Man.
Well, everybody, thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it, and we will see you again tomorrow. Once again, I have not looked at the next one. What's the next one?
It's Thor, right? There's no X-Men movie in between.
Is there not?
I don't believe so. I think it's Thor, Captain America, First Class.
Well, we've been wrong before, because I don't know where that Ghost Rider movie falls,
Oh yeah.
and that's in here somewhere. We're real close to it.
Okay, so because I track everything in like how I track things in my life is usually the like history of like relationships, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's like I know where I was when I saw this movie. I know where I was when I saw the other movies. So I'm pretty sure if Ghost Rider comes out, it's after.
No, it's in
after
2011.
First Class.
We still have
Yeah.
a couple. You're
Yeah.
right. It is after First Class. Thor's next, and then it's First Class, and then it's First Avenger.
Oh, see, I
and
wouldn't
then
have
it's Spirit
remembered
Avenger.
those two. Yeah.
Yep. But that's where we're at.
Yep.
So we'll see you tomorrow for Thor. We'll see you tomorrow for Hercules. We're really excited about it. And in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Sarah.
And thanks for watching.